Paranormal Punches is part of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com for more great podcasts.
Hey, y'all. This is Frank the Bigfoot, and you're listening to the Paranormal Puncher.
Hey, friends. Welcome to Paranormal Punchers, the show that takes a paranormal topic and punches it in the face. I'm Mark.
I'm Alicia.
I'm Nash.
I'm Dave.
We don't actually punch paranormal things in the face.
We don't.
I just decided since it's the new year, I'm going to say something different at the beginning of every episode.
Okay.
And one of those may stick to be our official intro.
Ooh.
I'll let the listeners decide. On this episode, we're going to talk about the very famous and very haunted RMS Queen Mary. And on the second half of the show, we have a listener's paranormal experience to share with you where they saw some strange energy blobs manifest into. You just have to wait to the second half to find out.
It manifests into ...
Right. It's exactly what I have here in my notes.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Manifested into. All right. Hey, what, Alicia?
Nothing.
What, you're judging.
No, I'm not judging. No judgment here.
Well, I wanted to say, hey, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
This is the first
Happy New
episode in 2022. Clearly, I'm still suffering the hangover from 2021 as we threw down here at Dave's house, played Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure everybody else there had a super exciting party like we did,
Right.
but actually did get carried away.
It
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, it was super fun. All right. Well, that's enough. 2022.
On the 22.
Wow, we're really excited to get this show rolling.
Yay.
Shout out to our new Patreon member, Dan McNaughton. Dan, thank you for joining the club. Thank you for going to the other side of the pudding skin. Would you like to join us on the other side of the pudding skin? Just go to Patreon. You'll find us. We have exclusive shows like Cryptids. Man, 2022. My brain's just not working.
Creepy Cryptids.
The show's called Creepy Cryptids. Thank you, Alicia.
Yep. And Ghost and Gastropubs.
The other show we have is Ghost and Gastropubs. See, I got it, and I just need the help.
Yep,
You cue me.
Okay.
And the weekend show where we ramble on about whatever we feel like. And who knows, we're going to experiment this year. Might have other fun and interesting content. So if you are into that stuff, Patreon. All right. The Queen Mary. It's time to jump aboard the ship and let's get rolling.
All right.
Let's see if we can stay on course.
I know.
Oh, yeah, nautical.
Ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
2022.
That's right.
This will be the year of puns.
That's right.
So I'm going to give a little bit of history behind the Queen Mary because a lot of stuff happened with this ship. And I think that is why it's as haunted as it is now. So we'll start at the very beginning. Germany, it launched two ocean liners, the Bremen and Europa, in the late 1920s. And because Britain did not want to get left behind in the shipbuilding race, they had two ships begin construction, one from the Cunard Line and one from the White Star Line. Now, just a little, do you know what the White Star Line, like what they're famous for?
Gonna just take a random guess of the Titanic.
Yep, you got it. And then the Cunard, I think one of their ships was in World War I and got destroyed. And I didn't write it down, so I can't remember what it was. So anyway, both of these people. Both of these companies, I'm sorry. Both of these
I was going to
companies.
say, no wonder it's like, it's just one guy, man.
One guy?
Yeah, both of them are...
It's Noah.
Both of them are competing against each other to make like the best ship or whatever. Okay, so just to give you an idea of
Like
that.
Ford versus Ferrari, but just with boats.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Sure. So construction began on hull number 534 in Scotland in December 1st, 1930. They wanted to create the largest ship the world has ever seen. Unfortunately,
Because that went so well last time.
yeah, I know. Well, so the Titanic, if you know this, the Titanic is like super small compared to what they were trying to do with this. Unfortunately, a year after they started, the Great Depression hit, so they had to stop. Now, Cunard, they applied for a loan from the British government so that they could finish a ship. And it was granted, but one of the conditions was that the Cunard line had to merge with the White Star line. Yeah. So, of course, I'm sure there were people like, what?
So now it's a monopoly.
Right?
Right? Now, work on the liner did resume as soon as the deal was worked out. And the ship was launched in September 1934. It was the largest ship built at that time at 1,018 feet long. And it took about 3.5 years and cost about £3.5 million to make. Now, prior to the ship's launch, they also had to widen the River Clyde, which is where it was built, because it wasn't wide enough for the ship to get out.
It was
of
a
port.
girthy boy.
Who names a river Clyde?
Well,
Just seems like
I think over there, I think they do.
Yes. Some guy at the pub.
it's the next biggest river next to River Frank. Yeah.
They're like,
River
hey,
Clyde.
Yeah, the river's pretty good. What do you want to name it? Hey, Clyde. And they're like, bingo.
It almost was Eugene, but we settled on a
It
Clyde.
was really close. It was really close.
Now, when they were building the ship, they kept the name a secret, and they intended.
Yeah, I know why. Because it's silly.
Well, what?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the river.
Oh no,
The river's
ship.
name wasn't a secret.
It was the ship.
Maybe it was.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, they intended to name it actually Victoria, Queen Victoria. But when the company reps asked the king's permission to name the liner after Britain's greatest queen, the king answered, "Oh, of course. My wife, Mary of Teck, would be delighted." So at that point, they were like, "Oh, okay. I guess we're gonna marry it. We're gonna name it Queen Mary." So now on board.
Well, there was another ship at the time called the Queen Mary, which they had to then, renamed Queen Mary 2.
Yes.
You think they did? So they didn't do their research in that? They wouldn't have.
I don't know.
I mean, where did
Money.
people come from
Somebody
not
had
doing
money.
research?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Really, right? The nerve.
Now, on board, the Queen Mary featured some of the grandest, most intricate interior designs, and you had the luxury of using 2 indoor swimming pools. There was beauty salons, libraries, children's nurseries. There was 5 dining rooms, a music hall, a telephone to connect to anywhere in the world, tennis courts, and even dog kennels, so you could bring your dog with you. Now, it also boasted to be one of the fastest ships in the world, doing the trip in less time than most around. So I think it usually took 3 days or something like that to get across the ocean,
The Atlantic.
not the sea, the ocean. But this one was able to do it in 2.5 days.
Okay.
They were quick.
It was cooking.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, in September of 1939, she made a trip to New York. And because of the situation in Europe and the fact that war had just been declared, she had to remain in port in New York. She, plus 2 other luxury liners, they stayed in port for some time until it was decided, hey, let's use these ships. We're going to make them troop ships. So
It was the pools. I think it was the pools.
Right.
And the pet grooming is what it was.
Of
That
course.
won
Yes.
them over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
now they left for Sydney to be converted, and then they would then carry Australian and New Zealand troops to Europe. Now, during her conversion, her hull was painted a navy gray, and because of her speed and the new color, she became known as the Gray Ghost.
Should put some flames on her or something.
Ooh. Well, I think the whole point was to make it as you couldn't see it.
U-boats
So-
would love that.
Right.
You know what? You're good point. Good point. It was wartime.
Now, during the war, the Queen Mary, or the Gray Ghost, could carry as many as 15,000 troops at a time.
Wow.
When it was just a passenger ship, they were carrying like 2,100 people.
Sure.
So like it was full of troops.
We're going to get intimately acquainted.
That's right. That's a
Right.
lot of bunk beds.
Well, I think they even are sleeping on the deck or whatever, like the top.
Right.
The top.
You know.
Yeah, the top. Now, I want to give you guys a couple crazy things that happened when it was a troop passenger ship. Now, in 1942, she was carrying over 11,000 troops and crew members near Scotland when she was hit by a huge wave during a very strong gale, and it nearly capsized. They later calculated that the ship rolled 52 degrees.
Wow.
And if it had gone 3 more degrees, it would have been game over.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's giant size.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, and this is probably the most tragic thing that happened. When it was a troop ship,
Right.
they always had,
Escorts.
they had escorts or whatever. And I wrote down that they did a zigzag, but then we were watching somebody else, and those ships that were going with them were doing the zigzag. But basically, it was to throw off U-boats.
Mm-hmm.
And they were also told, you cannot stop for anything. You need to keep moving. So, unfortunately, on October 2nd, 1942, the RMS Queen Mary, it ran into the HMS Curaçao. I don't know how to say that.
I thought it
Curaçao?
was like the blue liquor.
Oh.
Like
How do you say that?
Curacao? Or is that
Curacao.
Oh, that is what they were saying. Okay.
Kurakawa.
I was like, Curaçao? Okay. And it literally sliced it into 2. 337 men were killed. And we were watching something else. They were saying that a lot of them probably in the propellers is what killed them.
And I actually have found this on the BBC archives. This is actually from somebody who was on the Queen Mary. I'll read this to you. It was 1942, and I was 22 years old and a seaman in the Merchant Navy on the Queen Mary. We were returning to Glasgow from New York, which was a 4 to 5 day journey. The Queen Mary was carrying about 200,000 American troops to join the Allied forces. There were 2 of us on the poop deck on the aft of the ship, and we were manning the 6-inch gun in case we came under attack. What good we could have done with one gun, I have no idea. A cruiser called the HMS Curaçao met us 200 miles off the coast to escort us into Greenock. I could see her clearly, and as I was on the aft. We could see our escort zigzagging in front of us. It was common for ships and cruisers to zigzag to confuse the U-boats. In this particular case, however, the escort was very, very close to us. I said to my mate, "You know, she's zigzagging all over the place in front of us. I'm sure we're going to hit her." And sure enough, the Queen Mary sliced the cruiser in 2, like a piece of butter, straight through the 6-inch armored plating. The Queen Mary just carried on going. We were doing about 25 knots. It was the policy not to stop and pick up survivors, even if they were waving at you. It was too dangerous, as the threat of U-boats was always present. My mate and I wanted to do something, so after the collision, I said to my mate, "Come on, let's sling this over," and we released the cork life raft into the sea. Whether anyone from the cruiser managed to climb aboard the raft, I have no idea.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, it's intense.
Yep.
And that'll come up later because it does lead to some paranormal activity
Yeah.
in that part of the ship.
well, and then also to latch onto that, as many as 5,000 German prisoners of war were on the ship as well. And I imagine some of them died. Okay.
On the Curacao.
No.
No, on the other one.
Back to the Queen Mary.
Yeah. Anyway. So after the war,
Real quick,
Sure.
one other troop transport story. I don't know if you caught that one. That at one of the travels, the temperatures below deck reached an average temperature of 120 degrees,
Ugh.
and people were expiring from the close quarters. They were just
Often
packed
like
in.
heat exhaustion,
And
literally
they
cooking.
could not get out. So
Oh, wow.
that plays into
Oh,
some
God,
of it later.
yeah, for sure. Now, after the war, she was refitted for passenger service. And between her and there was another ship, the Queen Elizabeth, they dominated the transatlantic trade until transatlantic flights began to be a thing. Now, some notable people that actually were on the ship, Queen Elizabeth II, Bob Hope, Clark Gable, and Winston Churchill. Okay.
I've heard Churchill really liked this ship.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
He made multiple trips and, yeah.
Oh. Well,
did,
that's
did
probably,
the things that Churchill does.
Yeah. So the Queen Mary, she was retired from service in 1967. And on September 27th, 1967, she completed her 1,000th and very last crossing of the North Atlantic. And she docked in Long Beach, California. It is estimated that she carried 2,112,000 passengers over 3,792,227 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. So she moved a lot.
Yep.
Now, it has been converted for a tourist attraction, a hotel, museum, and even had Disney interested in it to be called Port Disney. I also saw something about a haunted mansion at sea. Did you have some stuff?
Yeah,
on that?
haunted passages. We could touch on that a little bit later because I think it leads into why we're going to probably have a few different stories that are different variations because it's possible what they did with haunted passages kind of led to some of the stories that could be fabricated, but by this time now it starts to become the true story.
Right.
That makes sense? Felt like I was rattling around there.
Yes, but yes.
Okay.
Now, most recently, it is a hotel, restaurant, and tourist attraction, but at the moment, it is closed. It closed down during COVID, and then I think they opened it up for just like a few months, and then they had to close it back down because of repairs. They needed to fix some stuff on the ship. Now, the company operating the ship filed for bankruptcy, but the owner of the ship is the city of Long Beach, and they plan to repair her. I guess it could possibly have like flooding and capsizing and things like that. But the cost to make just these urgent repairs, $23 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tax dollars at work. Right there. Thanks, Long Beach.
Yeah. So with the amount of crossings across the ocean as this ship has done, and apparently 49 recorded deaths here, including a crewman who was crushed by a watertight door, there may be as many as 150 spirits still lingering here. Now, just a couple of things. The ship is a drain on cell phone or camera batteries.
Yeah, it's actually like an energy vortex.
Yeah. Cameras often will refuse to function even properly there. People have often felt dizzy, nauseous, and had hot or cold flashes there. And there are drastic temperature changes, like slamming of doors, knocking, people screaming and crying, and lights flickering, just to give you a kind of a basis. And then we can go into all the cool hauntings that happen there.
There's a ton of them.
I know, which I don't think we'll even get close.
Yeah, I've got a few of them. You know, so one of the first ones that I start off with had to do with starts with cabin B340.
Yep.
The cabin itself.
That's so the B deck.
Yes.
Is like incredibly haunted.
Yeah.
Not just this room, but like there's multiple rooms.
Now there was. Let's see. So the cabin B340, which is no longer in use. They basically shut it down. And it's because of the paranormal activity that's happening in there. Guests have claimed that it's haunted by the ghost of a murdered staff member, where faucets turn on by themselves, bed sheets flying across the room, which is, by the way, stark white with very little furniture in it. which is what I said. So this room, and I saw some images of, that's kind of where people go when they're going to take the readings, is to this B340, because I guess I didn't do like a plat map where that sits on the ship.
Right.
But that's supposedly like the main room. But there's a ghost called Little Jackie. Little Jackie, she was about 5 or 6 years old. She drowned in this pool. So they had a couple of pools. They had like the main pool, but they also had like a pool B for like the regular people, not the first class people.
They had first class pool and a second class pool, both free to guests. Men and women had to swim at different times, and the second class pool has been tore out, and now it's a theater there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So she and possibly her sister Sarah died. They drowned in this pool, but they can frequently be heard splashing around, calling for parents, and actually responding to questions. So is it they? I didn't have any audio of anything like that.
I do.
Oh, I see.
All right, so this gentleman named Peter James, this is back in 91. He did a whole thing on this ship, got a lot of EVPs. They even made a TV special out of it called Sightings, the Queen Mary, something like that. But he was caught like audible responses. Like one was, "Meet me in the other pool." And of course, James was confused. He didn't realize that room he had been in was the second class pool during the ship's earlier days. But it's very interesting. I have a clip here for you. Let's give it a listen.
Let me help you. Okay, talk to me again. I don't want to.
You can definitely hear that
Yeah.
little,
That
I
girl's
don't know
voice in
exactly
the-
what she said.
Yeah,
but
you can hear it. That very much is like, oh my gosh, there's a kid down there. There's no way around it.
Now, this is not the first paranormal investigator to come across Little Jackie. Now, the thing is, here's a quote from a maintenance supervisor on the ship. "We came into the pool and I heard giggling, the sound of a little girl playing in the area. And at that point, I noticed there was splashing. The splashing stopped, the giggling continued, and we observed the wet footprints of a small child walking across into the locker room. I know what I saw. I'm not exactly sure what I saw, but I know it was there." So that's freaky.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. There is no record of anyone drowning in the pools.
I know.
So, yet that guy got a lot of interest in EVPs. Other people recorded EVPs of a little girl talking. That brings me to Ghost Adventures. When they did it, they started to theorize that Little Jackie was not a little girl at all,
Right.
but possibly something
Much
evil,
more
something
evil.
darker, impersonate a little kid.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so there's a ton more. And there's I think, probably my favorite ghost that I've never met on the Queen Mary is this ghost called John Henry. Now, John Henry, he worked in the boiler room, but, yeah.
John Pedler.
No, John Henry.
Okay.
Now, John Pedler was crushed by Door 13?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different guy.
Okay.
Different guy.
Sorry. Yep.
John Henry, no, it was another guy. He worked in the boiler room. I didn't find out how he died, but he can often be heard under the. I guess there's can often respond to questions about beer.
Oh.
Yeah. So you could be sitting somewhere, and if you see the ghost, and you start talking about beer, and he responds back. That's John Henry.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, buddy, let's go hang out. That sounds nice.
Is that Half Latch Harry?
Possibly?
Because there's a ghost they call Half Latch Harry, which is John Pedler.
Right.
Now, is it Half Latch because he didn't make it through the door? Right.
Yes. Yeah, because it got him in half. Because
That's pretty messed up to give a guy a nickname because he got
Right.
squished by
Give him
the
a
door.
nickname after he died.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So I have the whole story on him.
Go
but
for it.
Okay. So this actually has the history of why I don't like horror movies or anything scary, jump scares. So when I was a kid, I was watching. I used to love Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack.
Yeah.
And watching the show, it was actually the October 26th, 1988 episode. And they did the Queen Mary. And I didn't realize it at the time. Apparently, they hired a whole crew to capture EVPs and everything. And one of the segments was talking to, what's her name? Nancy Ann. She was a former tour guide on the Queen Mary.
Okay.
And she recanted the story about about John Pedler and how, during a routine fire drill in 1966, he was 18 at the time, and he dropped something and couldn't quite make it through the doors that were automatically closing, because on a ship you need to have the bulkheads that close so that you don't sink the ship. He tried to get in at the last second and was crushed to death. Or he was playing chicken with another crew member.
That's the one that I heard.
And lost.
Yeah, because he was a firefighter by trade.
Right.
But that's the way I heard it, was that he and his buddies, that was the game to play.
Right.
How many times you can get through before it closed.
Right.
And he got through so many and a half times.
Right, yes. Yep.
I mean, unless you're Indiana Jones, you don't try to make it through a door before it closes.
Right. Yep. Especially when it's a bulkhead door to, yeah.
Now, there is one more theory, though.
I didn't finish.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm holding.
Okay. I guess go ahead. If it's another theory,
No, it's not. You
is
go,
it a
you
theory
go.
of how he died?
Yes.
Or okay, go ahead.
No, it's just there was one other theory that I came across, that he was pushed.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay. I did not find that.
Pushed
anywhere.
into the closing door.
Okay. That would be
That's sad.
Yeah, very sad. But so he's been found near. They call the area Shaft Alley. And so people walking in Shaft Alley find him in dirty overalls. And I realize I'm deviating from my story, but going back, find him following them and then disappear. And so Nancy Ann was recalling the story of I was working on the capacity of a lead guide, which meant my job was to close down the tour route and make sure there weren't any stragglers behind. I don't know why I turned around, but I turned around and standing right behind me on the step was a man. He had on blue overalls and they were dirty. When I stepped aside to let him go by, he wasn't there. He was gone. I don't necessarily believe any other ghost stories that other people have come up with. I only know what I saw, and I only believe what I saw with my own eyes. The whole story itself is kind of, it's a little chilling, but pretty typical. But as a kid watching Unsolved Mysteries, they were reenacting it.
Oh.
While she's telling the story. So she's actually going up an escalator or down an escalator, I forget which. And it's a close up on her face. And all of a sudden you get a sense like she notices, she feels like something behind her. And the camera pans around to the front of her. And here's this guy that looks like, there's sketches of what the guy kind of looked like.
Right.
Oh,
This guy looks exactly like that. And he's like right over her right shoulder. And it was like the instant jump scare type of thing, person behind you.
Oh, God.
And since that time, I have not liked any horror movies, horror scenes, jump scares, any of that stuff. All because of John Pedler.
Well, and there's also another thing about John Pedler that he does, which is I think kind of frustrating, is that they know it's John Pedler walking, getting throughout the ship because he leaves greasy handprints on things.
Well, and some guest faces have gotten grease.
They've been greased.
Fingerprints,
He's like
yeah.
Slimer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he's going around touching stuff. They clean the thing. I saw a picture of the inside, and the wood is polished, and it looks beautiful.
Well, that's probably why he didn't make it through the door. He slipped when his hands were greasy.
He could have been. Maybe that's exactly it.
But now he's grease palming people's faces?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Do you have any more on the why he was pushed? Like,
No, that was just, again,
The theory.
as these stories continue to be told
okay.
and different TV shows now, that theory's becoming one. And I think it might stem from people felt like they've been pushed through the door.
Okay.
Oh.
So now they're like, was John Pedler pushed
Right.
by someone, something,
and now he
into the
pushes
closing
to-
door? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do have more on B340.
Oh yeah, go for it.
If we should circle back. There'll be a lot of circling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a boat. What else you got to do? Right? Walk in circles.
Well, they weren't allowed to circle. They had to zigzag, but it's okay.
Right.
I meant when you're on board. Okay, whatever.
The DM allows one attack per roll here.
All right, so Nash had mentioned 340, but here's a story I came across again, and I will follow it up with Disney. It doesn't sound like they should go together, but they do. So room 340, here's a story that's been told about it. So this back in 1960s, a passenger on the ship killed 2 women.
That's
No
what it was.
reason why, just brutally murdered them. So the ship security got him, threw him in room B340, which it wasn't called B340. They had changed the name of the room. Threw him in this room. They had guards posted outside where they were coming to New York City. Then they would have the NYPD take him off. So this guy's in the room, and he starts screaming and yelling out to the guard, like, there's something here that's trying to kill me. Ah. And the guard's like, just assumes the guy's trying to trick him in to open the door, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
They just ignore him. So they finally dock in New York. NYPD comes, they unlock the door to go get him, and this guy is in there ripped in pieces.
Wow.
Dismemberment, his guts are laying out on the floor, and no one else was in the room. Now, that's one of the stories of why that it is so haunted in there. But then I have to wonder, since Disney tried to make Port Disney, and they wanted to have a haunted theme, kind of their haunted mansion at sea, kind of. So they had haunted passages back in the 90s, and they had tricked out room B340 with sound machines and like stuff to trigger the faucet.
Wow.
So, and then, those tour guides were telling stories. So I wonder if some of these stories are kind of built out of,
Right.
Something like at Disney trying to make this so scary. And that story just gets retold and retold.
Gotcha.
Until,
Right.
You know what I take from that story, though? That the guards outside were the smartest guards ever. Because they had the opportunity to become your standard throwaway guards that unlock the door,
Right.
release the evil, and get thoroughly murdered in the process. Like they wouldn't have been able to do anything against that elemental evil that was inside of there. So they actually did the right thing. They're like, "Yep, no, I'm not opening that door."
Now, we watched the episode of Ghost Hunters from 2005,
Right.
where they had set up cameras in room B340 because the people giving them the tour of the boat said that they just kind of closed the room down. Guests kept reporting covers getting torn off, so nobody wanted to stay.
Right.
So they set up a camera to record the bed, hoping they would get something. And they did. They have the footage of the blankets being pulled down.
Okay.
And then they noticed a glitch in the camera. So then they started analyzing the footage, realized somebody came in the room, hit stop, able to sneak under the bed. They hit start, and then so someone was pulling them down.
Okay.
And then they were looking like, you didn't hear the door open. You didn't see the light coming in from the hallway. They found another passage where somebody could get into that room through this small, narrow way that had pipes and things like that.
Okay.
So again, it makes you wonder if that story is true, and they just didn't realize someone did come in through a
Someone
different
snuck
passage.
in.
Yeah.
Murdered this guy and got out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, there was another room that had this kind of a horrific thing happen, and it was room B474. I think that's what it was. Yeah, B474, where a family was just brutally murdered in this room. The ghost was just named Dana. I didn't catch the last name. But Dana, she was shot in this room, B474, and she was there with her sister and her mom. Now, someone had come in, shot her, strangled her little sister and her mother, but strangled the sister and the mother in front of Dana, then shot her. Dana likes to hang out in the second pool. That's where her ghost would hang out, and occasionally hang out with Grumpy, which is yet another ghost,
Oh, Jesus.
and John Henry in the boiler room. She likes to hang out with them. So that takes me to Grumpy. Grumpy.
Quick note on that.
Yeah.
I came across a story turning into the father who killed Dana and her mom.
It was the father.
Yeah, and then
Oh.
and they were in the stateroom, and then went inside and then murdered the baby the youngest kid that was in the bathroom.
Right.
So again, was that a sensationalized story or was that the
Right.
truth? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was this guy, Grumpy, and then I didn't find a whole lot on Grumpy, but they said that he's grumpy because whenever he responds to you, he growls at you. That's it. And he likes to stay under the stairs near the first class pool.
Get off my
Cool.
boat.
Yeah, he
Right.
just kind of growls at you. Get away from me, And so that's where Dana likes to go hang out. She likes to go hang out with this old guy Grumpy. So maybe he's just like rock candy, you know, rough on the outside, but really a heart of gold.
Jeez.
I don't know. He likes to hang out on the stairs by the swimming pool.
That's
Sounds like his name should be creepy.
Yeah, there's a whole other
Right.
thing. Now there's what I think is kind of the biggest thing is that there is like a vortex of evil
Yeah.
on this boat, and I think it's what's maintaining everything. There's a ladies' changing room.
Yeah. On the back side of the pool.
Yeah, and I guess some passengers were just brutally raped there.
Oh.
Oh.
And that's raped and killed there, and that's what created this vortex of negative energy, or anchored it, or something. And that vortex is what's kind of holding these ghosts here, and possibly attracting others.
People feel like a heavy and negative energy down there.
Yeah.
And a lot of psychics have gone back there, and they're like, no, this is a vortex of,
It's badness.
yeah. Or it's a gateway or something.
Yeah, it's huh? Can we all guess where I'm going to go with that?
Oh, God.
Right. Anyway, well, pudding skin, right? Yeah, yeah. But it's another situation to like what we saw at Aleister Crowley's house. You know, where it just either brings more negative energy in, or brings a ghost in, but it also has to keep them there. That they can't get away from it because of this vortex. So that's why I'm thinking it just remained haunted after all this time.
So if that has the negative energy vortex and the ship was still sailing and it sailed over another spot of negative energy vortex, do they merge?
Like galaxies.
All right.
That's a good question.
And would the Queen Mary absorb what was there, or
Like Pac-Man.
Would that possibly be a release where the souls from the Queen Mary get trapped then in the vortex in another spot?
That's a good question. I don't know. Like if the Queen Mary went through the Bermuda Triangle,
Right.
you know, would it pick up spirits, or would it drop off spirits?
Right.
Okay.
Well, that could explain a little bit of why there's so much paranormal activity around the pools if there's a vortex in the changing room.
Yeah.
But a security guard, he was walking around, he saw a lady in an old-timey bathing suit getting ready to jump into the pool. And he freaked out for a second, and of course, she disappeared. But people have seen other apparitions in old-timey bathing suits walking around the pool, only to not be there. Dave, you mentioned something about
Some creeper.
creeper. Yeah.
So the creeper is actually a woman. She goes through the woman's locker room. Same thing as like the little girl, where they'll see women's footprints coming from the pool, out through the door to the locker room, and then through the locker room. And they call her the creeper, although she's a woman going into the woman's locker room. So
Right.
I don't know why they call her the creeper. But yeah, the people in the locker room can see these.
Is she
footprints.
leading people to the vortex?
I don't know. Yeah.
So, and I forgot to mention, there's one other thing of terrifying nature in this whole thing, is that the other reason I think the vortex is holding these spirits here, because it's not just holding them, but it's actually kind of like putting them into vessels, because there is a child's playroom there that is wall-to-wall porcelain dolls.
Oh, God.
Right. We heard, how many times have we heard this? So yeah, there is in the first class playroom, it's just filled. There's a room that is just filled with dolls, and it's all these porcelain dolls. I imagine they're pretty high end dolls, but oh my gosh, you could probably have in a 10 by 10 room. My gosh, you could probably have a couple hundred dolls in there.
God.
What if the doll room is the anchor? The vortex brought all these ghosts in. And the dolls are that's where they go, and when they want to relax and kick back, they go to their doll bodies and shift their eyes around and look at stuff.
The third class playroom and nursery, you can also hear children laughing and crying down there. So,
Wow. This place is crazy haunted.
Yeah.
So circling back to the Curacao, zigzagging back to the Curacao. So marine engineer John Smith, he works on the boat. I just taking care of things, I assume. But he was down the bow of the ship, and he heard rushing water, the sound of metal just ripping, men screaming. And this happened on several different occasions. And then that's when he found the information about the carousel, and he was like, that's the exact spot where the carousel would have been hit by the Queen Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And other people have reported hearing like men banging on the side, begging
Jeez.
to be brought on board. So that traumatic hit on that boat somehow also tie the spirits to
Right
the Queen
to
Mary.
that ship, yeah.
Or the vortex
Just kind of sucked them
bringing
in.
them, sucked them in.
Yeah, and just kept them there. I mean, there's all. I don't want to say every room is haunted on this place, but I mean, like if you go in the kitchen,
Oh, God.
the kitchen is haunted.
I was saving that one.
Yeah, that was kind of brutal.
I know.
During World War II, a cook was murdered there by troops aboard the Queen Mary, who didn't like his cooking.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The cook was stuffed into an oven and cooked.
Oh.
And which
Yeah.
explains why his screams can still be heard around the place.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad of a cook do you have to be?
Right.
Like, it's pretty easy to whip up some chili or.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's awful, really.
Right.
That's terrible.
I can't believe it was even allowed to go down. Again,
Right.
did that really happen?
I know. That's
Yeah.
I questioned that because I was like, that seems like outrageous. But
Now, where they kept POWs,
they did.
was it in the boiler room or was it in the rope room? But either way, because the
Yeah.
big boiler, I mean, this ship is powered by
right.
these giant boilers, so it's giving off so much heat and steam. At these German POWs were basically cooked alive too.
Yeah, sure.
And some people had EVPs and things kind of saying that hurt, burning. So that area of the ship has a lot. We were watching that one TV show where
Yeah.
that psychic medium was picking up, an angry spirit. She said it's German, it's angry, it's hurt. I'm like, geez.
Yeah.
Again, how did they not know if they locked prisoners in this area that it would be that
right.
horrific?
Yeah.
I mean, there's places all over the boat. There's the Queen's Salon. There's ghosts of a young woman dressed in white there. The first class suites, a ghost of a man in a 30s black suit. The third class nursery, the second class swimming pool, and where there's a very pale lady in a blue dress from 1940s with dark hair and no makeup on, just kind of hang around. I mean, it seems like there was just so many people.
I mean, it's a ghost. How do they know she had no makeup on?
I don't know. That's a good question.
She was pale.
She was pale.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
she could have had eyeliner. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah. Who knows? But it just seems like not. If you're taking a tour of this place, it's not every room, but it's like, oh, here's a haunted thing, and then you wait about a minute, and you're at another haunted location, and then you wait a minute, and then you're at another haunted location. With so many people, going around on this boat, so many soldiers transported, so much around, and they only had 49 recorded deaths.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, but there's over 130, 150 ghosts that they know of. But
Right.
right, and I think they got to get rid of that doll room.
Right.
That's what they got to do, right there.
With the vortex, that's interesting because now the ship no one's really in it. And we did watch another show, I think the Holzer Files, where they went in, and now the ship's been sitting empty, except, you got security guards. But it seems like a lot of activity has really boosted up. But he tried to talk to Jackie because he had an experience with Jackie, the lead investigator, and nothing this time. And they were starting to wonder, and they had some new activity. They were starting to wonder if now that people have been there, that this ship needs energy. So when people do come aboard, new spirits are popping up. They just need, almost like they just need.
They need it.
Just, the attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they're pulling. You said that in the very beginning that when you go on the ship, you feel like sick or weak, and then the electronics don't work and power comes out of your phones and everything, and it's like maybe that's the vortex. They just keep pulling in all that energy, and if you're not going in, everything's on
Yeah.
silent mode.
Right.
Yeah, I have a thing. The Queen Mary has been haunted for decades, but because it's been closed for COVID and other things, the activity has picked up. Now, Kelly Osbourne, she and her brother Jack, they did a thing for Halloween where they were on the RMS. And she said, this place feels like it's not supposed to be empty. Like it needs to have to go with what you were saying. Like, there needs to be people here to maybe keep some of these negative spirits at bay.
Right.
Interesting.
Huh.
Well, why don't we take a quick break? We'll come back with more thoughts on the ship. I have a couple fun facts for you, and we have a listener story. We'll be right back. And we're back. All right. The Queen Mary. Mm-hmm. She had a couple more fun hauntings to discuss.
Yeah, I say it's hauntings. I don't know if it's fun, but
Yeah, and hauntings, one of them is kind of
Right.
loose, you know.
So in the boiler room, number 4, an apparition of a little girl is seen here, either sucking her thumb or carrying a doll, which is weird. Why? That's my question.
Well, I imagine as you're a little kid on the Queen Mary, they go wandering.
Okay,
And there's enough people that you could let your kid wander around.
true. There's also screams and violent noises heard down there. So I don't know if maybe they had some of the...
Yeah, wow, that just shot my theory right now.
I don't know if any of the POWs were down there or not, but...
I had a thing in mind about the screams from when it sliced that curacao in half.
Right.
That contributed to a lot of the screams because at that point,
that's probably...
I don't know if the vortex was going at that point, but with with cutting it through and that many deaths because of it, yeah.
Now, Winston Churchill's stateroom, and then I guess also the captain's room.
You mean Captain Treasure Jones?
Yes. People have smelled cigar
names.
smoke down there.
Great names.
I'm only bringing it up because, it's weird when you have like a whiff of something all of a sudden. But
That's what my
if
wife
there's...
says all the time.
God.
She said, that is weird.
But if
I don't think that's the word she would use. But
No.
Maybe. I'm just,
No.
sugarcoating it a little bit.
Okay. Well, if there's wood on the walls or the doors, like it can hold that smell.
Oh, yeah.
So,
It'll hold cigar smoke forever.
yeah. Now, the Mauritania room, staff came in to clean it, and a woman was sitting in the middle of the dance floor.
Oh.
So when they asked her to move, she apparently just faded right in front of them. And then also in the Mayfair room, which was the salon, I think you might have mentioned that.
Yep,
A member of staff came in and felt that the room was unusually cold. And she felt something brush up against her. So when she turned around to look, she saw this see-through figure in white walk across the room and then walk through the door. The door that was closed.
Was that the lady in white or whatever it was?
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I've got as far as hauntings. But yeah.
Yeah, not some place to go lightly.
No.
Definitely. I wouldn't mind going on taking a tour there.
I think I would be fascinated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just with the history alone, I'd be like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, and the videos we watched, it looks beautiful.
massive.
It looks like it
Beautiful.
would be a super fun trip to stay on that boat. It looks luxurious.
yeah.
But the paranormal activity, it'd be amazing to be able to explore that, even for an hour. It just looks amazing.
Yeah.
Do you think they upgraded the kitchen? You think they've changed anything in that kitchen?
I hope the oven
That's what I was going to say. So,
Okay, at least-
so if you do a tour, do they cook you lunch while you're there?
Oh God. Well, there are 3 different tours. That
Put
you
it
can do.
together.
Yeah.
No, I hope not.
There's a dining with spirits, a paranormal ship walk, and then a paranormal investigation. Well, back when they had people on there.
Right.
Yes, they had these 3 different tours, and then there's also for $4.99 a night, you can stay in a room, and they would give you a Ouija board, tarot cards,
Nope.
a crystal ball, and ghost hunting equipment. So,
Wow. No.
Yeah.
Dining with ghosts. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, they're like TV dinners. Because I don't want anything cooked in that oven. God, can you
I
imagine?
imagine
I'm sure it was replaced.
Yeah.
Maybe. If everything's
Or like
everything's
2 or 3
original.
self-clean cycles.
Oh my God.
Dave, do we need to talk off air about not eating food cooked at your house? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Everything's original on this boat.
No, I don't think it's
No,
all
it's
original.
Well, I don't think so.
No.
To keep the original aesthetic of the boat.
No, like you know how they had to tear everything out, curtains and carpet, so they could transport troops.
Right,
and
but
they
when the
put
war
in-
was over, they had to put it all back.
they
But even B340 was stripped for a while, and then they redid it
Right.
to be able to rent it as a hotel room.
Yeah.
And they even put ghost stories on the one column, some things in the mirror. Even in the mirror, they have how to conjure Bloody Mary in B340. So they really leaned hard into
They're really pushing it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, not all the original, and I'm assuming not the oven.
Well, maybe I would just take some Chex Mix or something like
oh
that.
boy,
You would just bring your own food.
Yeah, it's BYOF.
oh god,
Yeah, just in case.
All right, I got some movie details.
Yeah.
Do
If you guys are
it,
interested.
do it.
So it's going the Queen Mary is getting its own 3-part horror movie franchise.
Ooh.
The first movie, dubbed The Queen Mary, is slated to release at the end of 2021, which I couldn't find that it really did.
Right.
Or early 2022, so I'm assuming they're behind production,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
like a lot of things. But yeah, they're going to be exploring different areas of the boat and different ghost stories of the boat, and using the swimming pool as kind of the vortex. Since that vortex is in the changing room, so I don't know if that's how they'll use that somehow to transition to a different time
Okay.
of the boat to tell the ghost stories.
Right.
So that sounds super fun.
So is it like an anthology of ghost stories, or is it a central story based around the concept of this portal or vortex? And
It looks like they're going to be going on the stories themselves. So they'll be having some stuff on John Pedler,
Okay.
The Lady in White. So they might be exploring like what happened in that time period to give us this haunting today.
okay, interesting.
So yeah, it seems really well. It's right up my alley.
Right.
As long as it's not done found footage style. And then the last little fun fact I have here, if I can find it in my notes, scrolling. Paul Gallico, the guy who wrote the Poseidon Adventure, was inspired by the Queen Mary by actually a trip when he was on the Queen Mary, crossing over the ocean. He was having breakfast, and the liner was hit by a large wave, sending people and everything just crashing to the other side of the vessel. And then he found the information about that giant wave you mentioned that hit the boat. It almost capsized it. And so that was the inspiration to write the Poseidon Adventure. Then the 1972 movie actually used some of the areas of the Queen Mary for filming. And the infamous Door 13, that section of the boat they used for filming.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say McHale's Navy. Sorry.
No, it was definitely not McHale's Navy.
Oh, okay.
How about you reference another obscure movie, TV show?
I know.
Oh, a movie from the 80s, 90s, whatever.
With Kelsey Grammer?
With Kelsey Grammer. It's a very serious docudrama. Documentary. About life on a boat.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the Queen Mary?
No, I think that's it. I believe this place is super haunted.
Yeah.
Hopefully, a rich investor step in and help get it
Right.
fixed up, because I would love to make a trip out to California to see this.
I know.
So yeah, real quick, I did look that up when you were talking about it. The you said it was $25 million to repair
Yeah,
it.
that
thought it was
was
23 mil.
23. Okay.
It was just to do like
The immediate necessary
immediate
stuff.
necessary
Okay.
ones. Yeah.
Because the original figure you gave $3.5 million in 30 with inflation is only $53 million today. So that's like for the necessary repairs, it needs half of its original cost. Like that's a lot of
Yeah.
investment. Like they
That's
weren't
so
keeping
much
up with
money.
it. Yeah.
No, I don't think it was being kept up. That's the thing. That's why it's gotten to the point where nobody's allowed on it
Right.
anymore. So
They've got the dough in California. Those taxes are nice and high.
I'm sure. Can't imagine like if a TV crew wanted to come on the boat. Right amount of money,
Well-
which they need to raise money
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fix it up. So
Right.
maybe.
Well, I mean, like when Kelly and Jack went on, I'm pretty sure that was probably in the summer of 21 or whatever. So
that show we watched, that was
Yeah.
21, they were on.
Yeah.
They got to raise money somehow.
yeah.
So maybe we should head out.
Right.
What do we got in our pockets right now? $20? Can we get on the boat?
Right. Yeah.
I have $67 in a Visa gift card.
Nice. Oh, that's it. We're in.
We're in.
All right. Fun topic. If you have any other details you'd like to include, because there's just so much. And I know we missed some stuff. Hey, send it over to us. If you've been on the Queen Mary,
Yeah.
get in the Facebook group and drop any photos you may have taken.
Yeah.
I'd love to check them out.
Yeah.
All right. We have a listener story here. Let me pull it up here on my... I have too many tabs open. Come on, somebody ham it up while I'm...
Vamping. Don't we need a vamp on
Yeah,
when
you
you're
need a
doing
vamp
this?
on.
We need to vamp?
At least you could have done theme music for, should we call it Tales from the Pudding Skin? All right, so we got this listener story here. Here we go. So to start off my story of my experience, my name is Andrew England, and he did say I could say his full name. And I've been able to see the paranormal since I was 20 years old.
Interesting.
On a fall evening in 2008, some friends and I went to another friend's rental apartment in Commerce, Texas, to hang out and have some fun. Eventually, we got bored and decided to go to the train tracks to get on top of the trains and do some other things. The tracks were hidden from the apartments down a small trail. We got to the train and everyone was doing their own thing, like putting graffiti on the train and stuff. The moon was full and you could see everything around you. I was sitting on top of the last train car and was just enjoying the cool weather when I felt the energy around me and the whole area change. Then it happened. I could see energy emanating from the tracks itself like white, clear fire. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief, but it was still there when I looked up. There were two sets of tracks, and both had this energy, but going the opposite direction of each other. Then I saw blobs of energy zipping down in between the tracks of energy. One of the blobs stopped and manifested into a full-bodied apparition of a man with an old train conductor hat. He looked and pointed at me, but didn't say anything. Then he took off down the tracks. I decided to get off the train and stood in between both train tracks and stuck my hand into the energy. It was kind of pushing my hands in the direction the energy was going. I did something stupid and lifted one leg up, and it spun me like a top, and I fell to the ground. At the moment I fell, it all disappeared. I noticed that everyone was leaving. I asked my friends if they saw anything weird, and they said no. The end.
Wow.
Except for him doing a 180 on the track, a one-legged 180 on the track. Wow.
I mean, that is intense to think that paranormal energy could manifest to the point where he could see it.
Right.
It came up, acknowledged him, split, and then when he tried to interact with it, flipped him around.
Wow. That's wild. I could just imagine just the idea of the blob thing kind of coming up, but kind of forming into the conductor and then pointing at him.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, then it's just like,
Get off my train.
I'll see you later, guys. I'm going to head out. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Call you later.
He's just trying to find the guys that were spraying graffiti all over the train.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, maybe I missed it, and maybe you don't know. Was that story the first time he said he could see the paranormal for so long? Was this his first story, or just a story of one of his experiences?
I believe it's a story of one of his experiences.
Okay.
Right.
And I do believe he's going to send more.
Okay.
Yay.
So, hey, if you have a paranormal experience that you'd like to share with us and everybody that's listening, just go to paranormalpunchers.com and you'll find all the ways to contact us. We love to read it. We love to hear about it. We love to share it. So, yeah. Oh, and then while you're at the website, there are also links to our merch. Speaking of merch, Bigfoot Ridge.
It's coming.
It should be here from the printer shortly. Well, a couple days, hopefully. Supply chain issues could back it up.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm excited to get that out and get people get it in their hands, and hopefully everybody digs it. More information coming soon on that one. All right. Anything else?
I don't think so. I'm ready for a 3-hour tour on this boat. Let's go.
Yep.
I'm not taking any 3-hour tour with you. I could not imagine doing a Gilligan's Island with you three. My wife, yes, would be fine.
She's like, whoa.
Dave's like the professor, so it would be good. But I'm like, you were
Gilligan
straight up Gilligan.
and Skipper combined
Rolled up
all
in
into
one.
one.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that? What's that make me, Marianne?
Yeah.
Certainly not Thurston Howe the Third.
Right.
Well, all right. And that's where we're going to leave that whole comment. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you like what we're doing, drop us a 5-star review, please. From all of us at Paranormal Punchers. I'm kidding. If it's not weird.
It's not worth checking out.